Imagine the pain of watching one of your most talented players represent another country. Even worse, he scores a goal against your national team in his debut for the country he now calls home. That's just insane. We'll get to that betrayal story soon enough, but first, let's talk about John Barnes and how he let down the entire Jamaican national team. Barnes is without a doubt a Premier League and England football legend, but this wouldn't have happened if he chose to play for his home country, Jamaica. Barnes relocated to England at the tender age of 12, and from there, he would go on to be one of the greats at both Watford and Liverpool. If you watched the English league in the late 80s and early 90s, then you would agree that there weren't that many wingers as good as Barnes at the time. Now, being a Jamaican, seeing your countryman do so well in a foreign league can only boost hopes of how well he'd perform for his home country. But that was not the case, as Barnes turned his back on Jamaica and obtained a British passport not long after his arrival in England. He went on to play a total of 79 matches for the Three Lions, while leaving Jamaica in the cold. The good news for Jamaican fans is that he won absolutely nothing playing for England, and that must have been a great consolation for the Caribbeans. But the same cannot be said of the people of Senegal, who at a time could boast of having one of the most gifted defensive midfielders in the world.
Here is on the edge of the penalty area, Patrick Vieira!
Patrick Vieira is the hero of Highbury.
I'm talking about Patrick Vieira, who was born in Senegal but made a move to France when he was just 8 years old. He did well for both Arsenal and Juventus, and his rugged but effective style of play earned him a call-up to the French national team. And while Senegal were doing poorly in the continental and world stages, Vieira was busy winning the World Cup with France in 1998. He did return to Senegal in 2003, but by then his World Cup conquest was already 5 years old. The people of Senegal had little consolation though, as their El Hadji Diouf-led squad beat defending champions France in the opening game of the 2002 Korea/Japan World Cup, which would have left a sour taste in Vieira's mouth. Speaking of the World Cup, Miroslav Klose is the competition's highest ever goal scorer. He achieved this feat while playing for Germany. But what if he had stuck with his home country, Poland? Yes, Klose was born in Opole, Poland, but moved to Germany when he was only 8 years old. He went on to play for Kaiserslautern, and he absolutely shone in his first season with the Bundesliga side. His exceptional performances attracted the interest of the German national team coach, Rudi Völler, but it also attracted the interest of the Polish national team too. Being one of their own, Poland expected him to honor their call-up, but he didn't. Klose knew that Poland were not on Germany's level football-wise, and that for him to win any major international honors, it was in his best interest to play for the Germans. With his German citizenship now intact, he went on to represent his new country in as many as 4 World Cups, winning one of them in the process. It's safe to say that the Polish fans would be glad Robert Lewandowski didn't betray them like Klose did. But Klose ain't got nothing to worry about. I mean, dude subscribed to Footyscape, and I bet you might want to do the same. So hit that subscribe button, buddy. Next up is Marcel Desaiu, who just like Patrick Vieira, betrayed his African roots to play for France and win the World Cup. Desaiu was born in Ghana, but fast forward 4 years later, and his parents had moved him to France, where he picked a strong interest in football. He matured very well as a player too, and after making his mark in his new country of residence, Ghana showed interest in having him play for their national team. No disrespect to Ghana, but Desaiu wasn't going to turn down the prospect of winning major honors with France in favor of representing his home country. He didn't think twice about shunning Ghana's call-up and decided that putting on the blue jersey was in his best interest as a player. His decision turned out to be the right one, as he played 116 times for the French and won both the 1998 World Cup and the 2000 European Championship. I'm sure Ghanaians would did take some solace in the fact that he was sent off in the final against Brazil, but he got his winner's medal all the same, so he wouldn't care that much. Now, every player we've mentioned so far moved to their new countries at their tender age, so juvenile betrayals are quite understandable. But what about Real Madrid legend Alfredo Di Stefano, who at 21 years old had already played 6 times and scored 6 goals for his home country Argentina? His move to Real Madrid was a step in the right direction, but what his countrymen didn't like was his acquisition of a Spanish passport 10 years later. Yes, Di Stefano saw the light in Spain, and he blatantly dumped his home country for his new one, representing them 31 times in international competitions, while scoring 23 goals. Revenge and karma are dishes best served cold, as he failed to help his new country, Spain, qualify for the 1958 World Cup. Another South American turned Spanish traitor is Diego Costa. The feisty forward was born in Lagarto, Brazil, for whom he had represented at international level in friendly matches against Italy and Russia in 2013. Brazil's coach at the time, Luis Felipe Scolari, was interested in his talents, and bringing him in as a major member of his Brazilian squad was at the top of his agenda. But in an unexpected turn of events, Costa decided that Brazil was not the right country for him. He had been playing for Atletico Madrid for 6 years and had obtained Spanish citizenship, and that spelled trouble for Brazil. He decided to keep his home country in the dark and represent Spain instead, which was quite surprising being that Brazil were the host of the next World Cup in 2014. Maybe his decision was based on the fact that Spain were the hottest team in the world at the time. They were both world and European champions, and that might have influenced Costa to betray Brazil. But there are more betrayers of the South American powerhouse, and who could forget how Deco said a big no to his national team call-up. The legendary Portuguese midfielder wasn't just born in Brazil, he also played for one of the country's biggest clubs, Corinthians. He was so good that it was only a matter of time before the Brazilian national team would call for him. The time came, but the timing was wrong, as Brazil was loaded with a superstar lineup that included Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and Rivaldo. So what were his chances of being a regular in such a formidable squad? Well, Deco didn't want to find out, as he had already obtained Portuguese citizenship during the 6 years he had spent playing for FC Porto, and had switched his allegiance to Portugal. Ironically, his debut match for Portugal was against his home country, Brazil, and he scored. He went on to play 74 more times for his country, and he's widely regarded as one of their all-time greats. Another legendary Portuguese footballer, who can only be eclipsed by Cristiano Ronaldo, is none other than the iconic Eusebio. This man is loved in Portugal, but unfortunately, that love doesn't extend to his country of origin, Mozambique. Well, he left Mozambique as a teenager to play for Sporting Lisbon, where he became one of the club's greatest players. Apparently, all the hype got to his head, and seeing the prospects of being a key member of the Portuguese squad, he said goodbye to Mozambique and hello to his new country. Now a key member of the Portuguese national team, he went on to score 41 goals in 64 appearances. He was also top scorer in the 1966 World Cup, and I'm sure Mozambique, who haven't won anything since forever, could have used his talents. Another man whose country was in desperate need of his talents is Lucas Podolski. The German international was part of Germany's 2014 World Cup win, and he scored as many as 47 goals in 120 matches for his adopted country. This is an impressive turnover for a midfielder, but I'm sure the Polish people weren't impressed by his betrayal. Born in Poland, Podolski moved to Germany when he was just 2 years old, and he obtained his citizenship almost on arrival thanks to his grandparents being German citizens. In his defense, the talented midfielder claimed that the Polish national team only began showing interest in him after he had already featured for the German youth team. Next up is the man who didn't just betray one country, but 2. Lionel Messi might have been born in Rosario, Argentina, but his father is of Italian and Spanish descent, while his mother is of Italian descent. However, neither Spain nor Italy will ever get to call Messi their own. The only consolation for Messi's countries of origin is that they're also powerhouses in world football, and they certainly didn't need him to win all the trophies they've won. Now, I know you seem surprised that Messi could have played for a country other than Argentina, the one he's most famous for, and it's something he doesn't talk about. But one time, Messi spent millions just to stop Ronaldo from stealing his most prized possession. And I know that sounds totally crazy, but that's nothing compared to some stupidly expensive things footballers never talk about. So click this video, buddy.